to keep right.
Hey everyone, it is Thursday, October 21, 2021. Welcome to Prepare to Go There, the most overlooked and underrated coaching conversation on the internet today. And that's my opinion, but I'm just convinced that our future deserves our focus today. No one else is going to be pioneering the future for us, so we better get after it. This is unnoticed by many, but it is necessary. And so thank you so much for showing up, putting in the work again to think about your future, to think about what it's going to take to go the distance and make a difference. My name is Peter, and it has been a joy and a privilege to go on this extended daily coaching journey with you as we together just keep the conversation going and learn what it looks like to lead ourselves well, and hopefully to lead by example as well. Go ahead and say hi in the chat. I am so excited about today. I am just ready to help you, help me, help all of us kind of wrap our head around this big idea. Rhythms and systems, they are so important for our personal lives. Man, it's great to see you guys. I look forward to these conversations. Joshua is on. Eric is on. And I'm going to ask y'all to ask questions and make sure that we're getting to the really fun stuff. And so let me open it up with the why, and then we'll dive in. But it's my thesis, it's my big idea that most people just don't know how to lead others into a better future, even if they have a title, even if they have a team. And that's okay. Maybe they didn't learn this intentionally, but the difference maker is self-leadership. It's kind of like the root structure underground before the tree. And we've got to be growing personally. We have to be leading ourselves before we can see our teams, families, communities, movements, businesses, whatever, grow and go as well. And so the theme of this whole conversation now, 89 days later, is self-leadership. And I just want to help you figure out how to lead yourself and stay focused on your future. Most of us, we don't quit before we forget what was important. And so I found we just have to keep this conversation alive. This is fuel for your focus. And I definitely want to help you keep your future on the front burner. All those things you've been talking about, dreaming about, praying about, it's time to get after them. It reminds me of a verse. It says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but dreams fulfilled are like a life-giving tree, a tree of life. And so we can say, well, it's just not my season. It's just not my time. But really, we are expected to produce fruit that is good, fruit that multiplies, fruit that goes into the future. And we're expected to have fruit in all seasons. In fact, even when we feel that we're not ready, we're still expected to be producing great relationships, great results in our life. So, how do you do this? How do you lead yourself? How do you stay focused on the future? Well, we've been talking about different principles and best practices that can help us get a better sense for this. And if you want to be on the journey, go ahead and join the Future Friends. That's the community here. And I want to get you in on the email community so that way you can keep track of all of these conversations. I email a roundup of these coaching conversations straight to your inbox, and you can enjoy them over the weekend or whenever you want. And I do that on Fridays. And I also share the things I'm working on for you and with you in mind. I keep talking about them partially because I want you to know about it, partially because I want to say to everyone, I told you so. And partially because I keep myself going this way. And so I got two big projects that I can mention now. One is another future focused leadership mastermind. At the 50th live stream, we pulled together with, I think, eight of us, and it was a blast. I had so much fun just kind of getting together with a handful of amazing people, and it was just a very kind of diverse group of people, but all wanting to work on self leadership, and they were just willing to be a part of that conversation. I was blown away by them, and so, anyways, we're gonna do it again, and I'm kind of aiming it somewhere a little bit before, a little bit after the 100th live stream of Prepare to Go There, which at this point is going to be landing, I think, around November 5. That's not the day of the mastermind. That is the day of the 100th live stream, which is kind of a big milestone for me because that's what I've been aiming for. I'm like, well, let me just get to 100 and we'll see what's going next. But man, it's been such a fun ride. And then the other project, I've used the 100th as a goal to keep me going. And I've been working on a book project with you in mind. And it's called Field Guide to Your Future. That's the running title. And it's really just, for anyone who's saying, hey, what is this thing about? What's your show about? What do you want to say? If you got coffee with me and you got, 30 minutes to kind of give your big idea, I wanted to say, hey, I got it right here. It's in a book. Let's just have a good conversation now. Just tell me about you. We don't have to talk about all this stuff. It's already, in the archive. It's in the book. Just, take it for whatever it's worth. But let's talk about you. What are you dreaming about? What are you working towards? What are you waiting for? And let's keep you encouraged. Let's get you equipped to go for it. So please, would you say a prayer for me that just as we kind of get into this compressed time, that things will shape out the way they need to. Okay. We have been in a conversation this week about rhythms and systems. My concern is that people are still wondering, what is he talking about? So basically, let me just review with three terms. The first one is routines. The second one is rhythms. And the third one is systems. I think these are just good practical tools that we will need to lead ourselves. And then out of that to better serve and lead others. So routines, I just categorically refer to that as daily routines. It's what you're going to do again and again and again. And I feel like this helps you automate awesome. Okay. Routines are good because doing the practice of whatever it is, whether it's, starting your day the right way, whether it's a weekly planning session, whether it's your health, whether it's, being intentional about staying relational. All of these are just great things that you never finish them. You know what I mean? You're never done. You've never arrived in that sense. They keep you healthy. They keep you balanced, whatever that means these days. And they keep you grounded. So that way you can keep growing. So we need routines to automate awesome, but there are some things that just don't happen every day, but they still happen rhythmically. They happen in a pattern, in a repeating way. And it's almost like whack-a-mole sometimes, that old school game where you're like hitting, all these moles are popping up out of nowhere. And eventually you figure out, oh, maybe there's some sort of pattern to all this. Maybe I can actually be ahead of it and not feel behind. And so now I know when to zig and when to zag, and I have a better navigation system to make sense of what's going on around me. It's not all that random. It's not all that arbitrary. There is some intentionality. Some of that is what I'm just learning and gleaning, but a lot of that is what I'm designing. I'm actually designing things with rhythms and patterns and decisions that are happening again and again. I get better with practice, but I also become a little more agile as I move from one area of life to another area of life because I'm not feeling tripped up. I'm not feeling trapped. I've oriented personal and family and team and community and whatever else in a way where I can be more fluid. I can be more agile. And, anytime you talk about rhythms, it's not meant to box you in, to keep you rigid, to chain you into a certain way of doing things. I like one of the comments yesterday. My friend Stephanie said, makes her think of jazz music. And that's it, man. If you are musical or have that musical analogy nearby, if you can track your rhythm and if you can keep track of that tempo, man, you can improve what you're doing. You can improvise what you're doing. And it sounds and feels like music. I mean, when you're in a flow and you're just going for it, it's really great. And just to build on that analogy, you've got routines going every day. You have rhythms that are going either weekly or monthly. Those are the different things that pop up. I know this is coming up every first Wednesday. I know this is coming every last Friday. I know this is coming once a quarter. And those are the things, that's defensive planning. That's the things you can expect and anticipate so you can be better prepared for it. But then you also have to do offensive planning. Offensive planning is if you don't, then it won't, right? Offensive planning says, man, I really need, I'm speaking to myself, man, it's been so fun to move into this house, but we really need to get away again. I need to pull aside. I've done some good big projects. Now I need to finish that rhythm. I need to rest. I need to regroup, recoup, so that way we can be ready for the next round. So you can be offensive and actually be intentional and design the kinds of things that you want to have. And I think that's the real power of rhythms is when you're in conversation and good ideas are happening, you got to figure out how are you going to act on them? How are you going to execute them? And rhythms become a filter. They become a conversational tool that you can use to say, okay, let's go for it. What's the rhythm going to be? Where does that fit? How does that map with some of the other things that are already happening on the calendar? Because it's not all the big, crazy, hard stuff that trips us up. It's all the little things that we didn't remember. It's when we forget where things fit in the calendar, we forget how things show up in our life that we get lopsided and we lose track of time. So rhythms are really important to, and that really is the core behind this idea that life is made up of rhythms. And seasons are made up of rhythms. You have basically hot to cold, but it's going back, and then you've got these 4 seasons that are being experienced out of just that journey back from hot to cold to hot to hot to cold. And there's every year, every season is totally different, and yet it's just the same rhythm back and forth. So I mean, for people who say, well, I don't want to have a calendar. I don't want to think rhythmically because it keeps me boxed in. It keeps me rigid. I'm kind of like, I don't think you know what you're talking about, because there's no such thing as having the same Monday twice or having the same Q4 twice. I mean, I just think that's brilliant. I could geek out about that already. To think that you would have enough experience to go into the week with a sense of equipment and empowerment, but yet realize that it's going to be totally different than before. It's like my favorite board game, Settlers of Catan, or some people call it Catan, whatever. Every the game is different every time, but it's the same board, the same pieces, they're just arranged differently, and then you have different players and they have different. I mean, it's just so cool, just the variety and how that can be used and leveraged in a strategic way. You could say the same thing about golf. The golf course is different every time, but it's the same golf course. So the calendar, it's the same calendar, but it's going to be different every time. And so thinking about your life with rhythms, okay, when this comes back around, or how often do I need to do this to see results? That's part of the conversation that a lot of us don't factor in. We're thinking about the one time, we're not thinking about it multiplied over time. Come on now, I'm speaking your language. I love that. Oh, nice. Golf. Okay. So you're in good company. I don't know golf, but my brother-in-law, Ryan, loves golf. And then my father-in-law, Sarah's dad, he is a big golf guy as well. Okay. So then the last term that we want to hit is systems. Systems are the how. Routines are the what. What do I need to keep doing again and again? What are the practices? I love that word practice because it implies you need to practice it. You never master it, but you reach mastery by being mastered by what you're practicing. I mean, which goes so many directions. You could talk about just the spiritual disciplines. You could talk about core values and lifestyle practices. But anyways, I digress. Routines are what? Rhythms are when. When is this going to happen? Again and again. And then systems are how. Systems are how. How are we actually going to do this thing? How are we going to do this effectively? How are we going to do this efficiently? How are we going to do this as a one-man job or a two-person job or a 10-person job? Like, based on some of those factors, we have to build a system that is both going to support the people doing that thing, but also the results, actually get the results that you need. And so for whatever reason, if we're unaware of one or the other, things will break down. Rhythms, I think, are forgotten more often because they're invisible. Where life's just moving a little too unpredictably, and most of our lives are fragmented, compartmentalized, or in silos. So we don't even understand how all these aspects of our life are related. So we kind of miss out on the rhythms piece, which is why I wanted to hit on it harder than the systems piece. I think there's so much fanfare about systems, and I'm for systems. I believe in systems. Maybe I'm just not that good at systems, but I think people think systems are their ticket, their free ride, their get out of jail card when Psalms 105 said Joseph was still in jail because the word was being proven in his life. So, I mean, I can't give you a get out of jail card if you're going through character development or if you're going through some sort of process towards promotion. So just hang in there. But systems are the how. They're the actual steps that we can go through to achieve a specific result. It's really valuable to talk about that. And so the first just kind of entry level point that I want to make is use these ideas in your conversation. You're having these conversations all the time with yourself. That's prayer or journaling. or thinking deeply. Maybe you're evaluating things on a future Friday. You're thinking already about stuff that you like, things that you don't like, things that are encouraging, things are frustrating. And you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I actually get a grip on all this stuff? I got all this stuff happening around me. How do I make sense of it? And you'll have to know the difference between, you know, what is part of your sailboat and what is just part of the wind, and do your part, raise the sail and catch the wind, and let the wind, or the rhythm, the wind representing the rhythm that you need to find and follow through with, and let that rhythm just carry you into new places. I mean, I had no idea that doing this 89 times was going to get me here and accomplish this and make, this whole new opportunity possible. But just being on this daily rhythm has really set me up. And I've actually kind of been trailing behind, trying to keep up, catch up with this very fast pace opportunity, and saying, okay, now I need some systems. I need to figure out how to make this effective, make this more efficient. I'm dreaming. I'm thinking, man, maybe somebody could help build, some of this content with me. That's how it happens. It didn't happen by saying, okay, this is what it's going to be. This is how it's going to look. It's about just making that commitment to get going, and then you get better. And the rhythm piece leads. The rhythm piece should be leading those conversations. So you're having these conversations with yourself. You're having these conversations with your spouse, if you're married, obviously. You're having these conversations with your team. You're having these conversations with your supervisors or your manager. You're having these conversations with friends, and you get potential all the time. Hey, let's go, let's go hang out at Galveston. Let's make a weekend out of it. Hey, let's do that event, and that would be really cool. And hey, I need to double down on my fitness so that way I can level up in my health. And they're like flying past us. And if you don't know what to do with it, that's all it's going to be. It's just going to fly past you. But you've got to figure out how to make those things which are aspirational actionable. How do you actually act on these things you're talking about, these things you're thinking about? So using these terms can help you. Okay, what routines do I need on the daily rhythm? What routines can I be establishing to help me automate awesome, to keep me in a healthy place, so that way, as I keep charging towards this future frontier, I'm not going to get off, lost somewhere in the woods. And then what are the weekly rhythms? What are the monthly rhythms? Now, you can approach that question two ways. One, you could say, all right, and the easiest way to do this is, you have coffee, you're doing a weekly planning session, you open up your calendar, whether it's paper-based or some sort of app. There was an app called, obviously Google's probably the default calendar, but there's another one which I really liked. I tried it out for a while, and it was called Sunsamo. It's kind of like Sun Ama, whatever, but Sunsama. And man, that was slick. That was a really cool tool, and it integrated your task manager with your calendar, but synced it up really clean. Great UI. And I think the subscription that they were asking for was just a little too steep at the time. I was like, I don't think I want to commit to all of that, which again is a rhythm. And but as you have these conversations, you sit down in front of a calendar, and you can say, breaking into rhythms the first way, option one, is just say, okay, what do I want to keep happening every week? Okay, and then you get that. And then you can kind of customize it and say, are there any theme days that I need to be thinking about? Theme days. So it's like, is there something that's going to be unique about Tuesday? Is there something that's going to be unique about Friday? Like for me, I put a lot more attention on my team on Tuesday because that's our meeting day. That's also when I can do one-on-ones. It's like a very kind of interactive day for our team. It's a focal point. And then you've got Future Fridays, so that's a weekly rhythm that I practice. And that's where I go offline, off limits. I'm like, booking it like Henry David Thoreau. I'm going Walden on my week. And I'm like, I'm not available. I got to go into the future. I got stuff I know about, things I want to work on, things I need to get ready for, things I need to learn. And so that's a rhythm, and then maybe you've got date night and you want to do date night. And so hopefully you're in a rhythm of date nights, and you're just practicing that. And then this like adds up. I mean, this is going to be like the cat lady, stereotypical in her apartment. You got one cat, and then next thing you know, you got 30 cats. They add up. All of these rhythms start adding up over time, but you got to know how to play that game and say, does this actually work? How would this fit with the other things I know about? A lot of times we're just not doing this proactively. We're just kind of passively agreeing, but we're still signing off social contracts left and right. And we don't realize we might be going time poverty. And we're getting in time debt, calendar debt, because we've agreed passively to so many things. So bring this up in conversations and make that one of your filters. Say, hey, that's a great idea, but what would the rhythm be? How often could we do that? And then you're balancing, saying, what is the minimum rhythm that we would need to make this idea successful? And then how far could we push it? Maybe eventually, if this thing really takes off, what kind of rhythm would you want to see then? And normally the way you get there is by implementing a system that makes this idea more successful. It builds critical mass, picks up some momentum, and you take off with it. So use routines and rhythms and systems as conversation tools. So you can actually take the idea and act on it, execute it, put it to work. Don't just talk about this stuff, begin to implement it. So I talked about looking at a calendar and saying, okay, what would a weekly rhythm, what would I want to do in a week time? What would I want to do in a month's time? And you're kind of building things that way, maybe with roles and goals. But you could do it the other way around as well. You could say, hey, let me just look at one area of my life, personal. What are the things that are important to me? What are the things I need to do? What are the things that I'm not doing? Okay, why am I not doing it? And I've picked up this new little phrase to close in on your goals with a calendar. Close in on good ideas with a calendar. So for instance, you may say, man, I think it'd be so good to try reading. And then what we normally do is, for whatever reason, we just kind of default on routine. We're like, yeah, it's good. I need to read more. I should probably start a routine out of that. And we think, okay, well, I can't do that every day. And we stop right there. We just say, well, if I can't do it every day, then I just won't do it at all. But like, wait, no. Start on the other end of the calendar and say, can I do this once a year? Yeah, totally. Can I read a book once a year? Yeah. Like, could you give it a good full day once a year? Yeah. And then just start closing in with the calendar saying, could I do this once every 3 months? Yeah, absolutely. I could have a really good book reading day, or a good meetup day for friends, or a good mastermind, or a good workout time, or whatever, and you start, I like to say, set the bar so low you can't say no, but you just like putting it way out there and just start closing in. And there will be a point where you say, can I do this every day? No, Okay, we'll bump it back. What's the next frequency? Maybe not every day. Maybe you could do it 3 times a week. Maybe you could do it once a week, whatever that thing is. And you're just trying to turn the knobs, turn the dial, just kind of get it on the right rhythm, get it on the right frequency. Many times we don't like what's happening in our teams and our family and our health, and our time, right? Just our day to day. And we're like, man, it's just not feeling right. I don't like this. And you really do need to chill out. You need to slow down. You need to say, okay, Lord, help me. If I'm not catching something that you've been trying to get my attention with, help me follow the unforced rhythms of grace here. And I love that chart that Xavier showed. I don't know if y'all remember that, but he was talking about the action chart. He talked about if we're going too hard, then we get anxious. But if we go too soft or too slow, then we can get lazy. And so I kind of took that and added some alliterations to it. I said the action chart, and you got the action lane, and then you can get anxious or you could get apathetic. But all this, and I'm kind of just spitting here, is use these terms in your language. Bring them up in your conversation. Begin to work on them, work through them in a conversational way. Okay, so I'm going to pause. I'm going to stop with that. Systems are great. I hope we can unpack them a little more. The question we want to answer is, how can we improve our rhythms and systems to work together? Now, I've gone at length talking about how they can clash. I said that if you have systems without rhythms, meaning you have a process, you know what needs to get done, and you're just going to do it, you're going to show up and go for it, that's good. That's basically hustle culture. Okay, that's the hustle culture mindset, that we're just going to hustle. And we've got systems in place to be the most hyper productive, efficient, whatever. We're not going to stop, but it doesn't factor in rhythms, that you're a human being, not a human doing, and you have to submit to the rhythms and flow. And when you do, man, you just have like a better day, a better week, a better life, because you're actually operating in original design. So if you do that, which is just go hard on systems without appreciating rhythms, it leads to burnout. But then flip it. If you have rhythms, and if you're like really committed to go the long haul and be consistent and show up again and again, and you understand that there are rhythms that you have to abide by, but you don't have clear systems, you don't have a clear plan when you do show up, that's going to lead to turnover. So you can burn out or you can turn over. Turnover meaning you're just going to be constantly changing what you do, how you do it, because you don't have a clear system. There's not any certain set way that can help you get expected results. And so we talked about both of those, but I do want to emphasize they go together. These ideas go together. Rhythms and systems go together the same way that the train goes on the train tracks. Your systems will fly. I mean, you can get so much more done. You can go further and faster if you have a strong system that is set on the right rails, on the right rhythm. Man, if you're doing the right things in the right time and the right timing, you'll go so far. It'll be amazing. In fact, it will literally go beyond you, because now other people get on board and they'll say, we can do this too. We want to help. We want to jump in. We want to get involved. And it's not like this push. It's not like this drag. It's not like, it doesn't feel like you're pushing, or let's use the sailboat analogy again. It's not like you're trying to literally paddle the boat, with your oars the whole time. It's like, man, you got the right boat. You got the sails up in the right direction, It's catching the wind. This thing's taking off. You're holding on. Like, that's what I want for you. That is my passion for you, to help you prepare to go there. I'm not saying you got to visualize it better and then maybe it'll happen. I'm saying you need to get yourself ready, because you're going places and there's things in you that have to come out into the world. And so I want to get you ready, because you're not going to have this precious downtime in the future. You're going to have more responsibility. You're going to have more opportunities, more challenges, and you're going to be so grateful that you are stewarding this time, because it's force multiplying for the future. So they do go together. So let's get into rhythms. My favorite rhythms right now. The worst thing we can do is forget our rhythms. We forget, man, I still need to work on this, but I hate forgetting people's birthday. By the way, happy birthday, Justin. You're the best. I hate forgetting due dates. I hate forgetting the third month stuff. I mean, it's so wonky to me. I'm like, why? Man, I can only think in a few boxes here. Every day, every week, every month. Just give it to me like that. But rhythms are important, and we don't want to forget them. So obviously, I'm going to the calendar. The best way to start sustainable rhythms is keeping time. It's that easy. The key to rhythms is keeping time. So what do you need to keep time? How are you going to keep time? For yourself. You are responsible for your own rhythms. So here's a question. Ask yourself, do I lose track of time? Yes or no? Do you lose track of time? The decision. How will I better notice the rhythms around me? Life is not as random as you think. It's much more rhythmic than you might realize. So you got to pick up on these rhythms that are happening around you. Say, man, this stuff keeps happening, that stuff keeps happening. Maybe this could all flow better together if I get involved. And then the action is negotiate your rhythms on a calendar. Negotiate those rhythms on a calendar. You can actually change the tempo. Hey, man, that's a great idea, but I can't do that every day, but I can do it every other week. How about that? And you negotiate. You got to negotiate your projects. You got to negotiate your meetings. You got to negotiate your workouts. You got to negotiate your learning. You got to negotiate time, because you're contending for these quality experiences. When you realize that the calendar is not just about keeping up, but the calendar is about creating the kind of lifestyle that is in you, that you are capable of, it becomes much more creative. The calendar is less of a closet to store things in, like to-dos and due dates, but the calendar becomes more like a canvas that you can use to paint and design and imagine what kind of day you can have, what kind of week you can have, what kind of month you can have, what kind of year you can have. And it's not static and stuck, like a broken record, doing the same thing again and again. You're actively creating and designing and dreaming about what is important and what is possible. That's why I'm saying it's like Settlers of Catan or Catan. It's like a golf game. It's like it's always different. It's the same board, or the same course, but you can keep like having endless fun. Believe it or not, I was not always a calendar person, but I've always kind of bent visionary, but I didn't want to squander that, and I had to figure out how to put it into action. So this has been a great way to do that. So I want to talk about some of my favorite rhythms right now. I love thinking in terms of 90, 90, 90. All right. So here's what I mean. Um, keep track of time. There's You've got the daily rhythm, weekly rhythm, monthly rhythm, quarterly rhythm, annual rhythm. So that's one way to keep track of time. That's probably more defensive. But then whenever you're getting offensive, you can make rhythms. You can set a rhythm that you feel is sustainable. And so 90 minutes is one, and then 90 days is another. I just kind of default. I can't keep up with how long is that meeting going to be? It's going to be 42 minutes. Okay. And then how long is that? How much time do I have to, you know, write that content? Oh, you got 12-minute sessions. Okay. Well, I don't think that way. I just want to simplify it. I want to streamline it. So I give myself in the day, every day, I'm thinking, I've literally blocked it all out. I think it's like 15 or 16 90-minute blocks for the whole day, every day. I've designed that day. I have a map for that day, 90-minute blocks, and I have storyboarded. I have a story that I want to tell of the day. What kind of day do I want to have? And basically, this goes into more of, I guess, what's going on in the book. So you guys get a little preview here. But I want to master the morning so that I can enjoy the evening. And so I want to be proactive and hit the ground running, do the most important thing first, which is the one thing for me. And then after I do my one thing, then everything follows after that. And I don't care what happens. I mean, anything can happen if I get my one thing right. And then that's mastering the morning, and then it's getting into the productivity and the most important work. I talk about getting a priority project one till done, and then you want to finish the day with like people. For me, that's undistracted time for my wife, and then we have a rhythm of hanging out with family and friends. Normally, I think what we're keeping up with is probably 2 or 3 times a week, maybe every other week. But we're just kind of keeping track of that. It's not hard and fast, but we're just keeping track of that. And there are days that are just off limits, and there are days that are wide open, and we're like, yeah, come on over. Party time. Absolutely. So we're creating rhythms, and all of that for me fits into 90-minute blocks. And it would be so weird or difficult to go on a trip, go on a vacation, go take an airplane ride, and you don't know what suitcase you're going to use. You don't know what to pack. You don't know how much you can fit into it. And a lot of times people, they're trying to make sense of their day, but they're just thinking of the day generally. And so they're like, well, maybe I could, maybe I could commute and finish that big project and have 4 conversations and put out a few fires. Yeah, that makes sense, right? No, it's like, no, where are your boundaries? What are your constraints? What are your constraints? Do you know how much time you have to work with? Have you been doing any time tracking? Have you been doing any time budgeting? You don't even know what you're working with here. So now I know, okay, I have 90-minute box. There's a purpose and there's a constraint, and I'm practicing a little bit at a time, and I know what works. And then what's so fun is you start getting in a rhythm and you start stacking the right stuff in the right order. And then this is the next level of rhythms, which is that your day has a rhythm in the sense that you kind of get in a groove if you're doing the right thing in the right order. And I picked this up from Carey Nieuwhof. He just wrote a book called At Your Best. He really goes into energy management. There's another great leader, Craig Rochelle. He talked about energy management as well. And I actually made a video. You need to check it out. I'll put it in the link later. But I did a old school, kind of prepare to go there many months ago, talking about the 5 areas that you need to be managing. Talk about time management, project management, knowledge management, energy management, and something else, which is clearly out of control in my life right now. But anyways, having those 90-minute blocks, now it's like Legos. You can just rearrange them. So whether it's Monday fun day, getting momentum, kind of doing the deep work, doing a lot of my pre-work for the week, okay, that has a different environment. So I can customize that a little differently. Maybe I could get 2 deep work sessions in 90 minutes. Well, on Tuesday, that's not going to happen. I know that because I have more just people to interact with on Tuesday. I've welcomed them into my space on Tuesdays. And then Wednesday is follow up. And then Thursday, kind of going into the weekend, back with more deep work. So using the rhythm of 90 minutes, boom, every 90 minutes, boom, there's a rhythm, boom. It's happening again and again. I'm feeling what 90 minutes is like. I'm getting better at keeping track of that time. I can't keep track of 20 minutes here and 45 minutes there, but maybe I could keep track and learn how to keep time with 90-minute blocks. And somehow it just makes sense. I mean, to me, I can stack them, 90 minutes, 3 hours. I just kind of build. It's easy math. It's just honestly easy math when I'm trying to make calendar stuff. So that's one aspect of it. That would be super micro. And then on the other end of the spectrum is 90 days. And that's really effective with goal setting and projects. Okay, I have 90 days, 3 months. It's very easy. Quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And you have to pick your projects. You have to name your goals. You have to say, man, quarter 4, I'm doing this. Now, you can do that a few different ways. One is you can, do an aerial view of your life, look at all the different fronts of your life, and you could pick one goal for each quarter out of each of those life fronts. So like one personal, one family, one team, one community thing. You just pick one each. So you're going to do 4 every quarter. So that'd be 16. You could do it that way, or you could just say what's most important right now. What's the win right now? Maybe not everything is equal like that. And you do kind of have ebb and flow. And that's part of rhythm as well. So however you want to do it, but you got to name it. And then you got to put your flag in the future. Put your flag in the future. I referenced this yesterday, but if you're trying to tightrope walk, if you are unwilling to commit on the other side of that canyon and actually get a hard and fast due date, and that's what we kind of do. We try to calculate, okay, maybe I need, 90 days. Maybe I need a year. I don't know. It could be one or the other. It's you need to nail it. You need to decide what it's going to be. And I think it's Parkinson's law. If that sounds right, let me make sure I'm getting that right for a second. Anyways, there's a principle that says you will always fit the time that you make. Parkinson's law. Just don't want to. Yeah, Parkinson's law. Give yourself less time. You'll always fill the time you give. So that's a cool little brain bender. So 90 days. That's why you got to really stick your rhythms. If you didn't know that quarter 4 already happened, you're late. You're behind. If you don't know that 90 minutes came and went, I don't know how to help you move past this point. You have to keep track of the countdown clock if you're going to put points on the scoreboard. I mean, if you're playing the game, if you're on the court, I'm using a basketball analogy here. If you are playing, you got to keep track of time. you can't, you may say, well, I'm doing the long game. I'm playing the long game. I'm playing the long game. Well, your game is going to run out. You don't know. Like, are you keeping track of your timer here? The long game is that you're going to go for the championship. It's not that you're dilly-dallying and you're just like running circles. Are you keeping track of time? Do you know that 90 minutes have passed? Do you know that 90 days have passed? And no, you can't do everything, but you can do anything that you nail one until done. So rhythms, I love that. 90 minutes, 90 days. That has been working very effectively for me. Theme days, that's another big aspect. Theme days, you got daily routines, you have weekly rhythms. So you're thinking about your theme days. Mondays have a certain flavor, Tuesdays have a certain flavor, on and on. I wanted to mention deep and wide work, because this is another rhythm that you can incorporate and, try, apply, and multiply. I love this. So I read the book, like most of us, Deep Work by Cal Newport. And he talked a lot about deep work, which is basically being focused and not distracted, and being willing to not just do shallow work, but to go, push yourself and take on more complex challenges and offer more value to the world. It's a great read. But I was kind of like, man, he's so smart. Why didn't he talk about like wide work, And I get the point of his book is that we need more deep work, but I was like, yeah, but there's still a need for work that is collaborative. So I just made my own phrase. I've kind of adapted it. So you got deep work, which is any work you're going to do that requires concentration. Any work that you do that requires concentration is deep work. I got to go deep. I mean, just think about the metaphor of a submarine. It's like, I'm going underground, underwater. You're not going to see me for a while. I will come up for air later. And then the opposite is wide work. Wide work is where you're going out horizontally and you're interacting with people. It's any work that you do that requires collaboration. There are some things you just can't do by yourselves. There are some meetings that you need to brainstorm, to make decisions, to review, to whatever. There are some projects you need. Like I couldn't move all the furniture in this house by myself. I would need to collaborate with some other people to muscle it out. So you've got to find that balance, find that flow. Balance is in motion. So you find that rhythm of deep and wide. And generally, most people aren't going to do more than 3 or 4 hours of deep work. Anyways, you're just not going to do it. And probably, I mean, if you're extroverted, maybe there's a case that you could do more wide work, hang out with more people, work harder with other people. That's great. But generally, I mean, you're kind of like in a 3-hour window, prime time, 3 hours deep, 3 hours wide, give or take, depending on the day. I'm not saying totally 3 hours and then 3 hours all equal. But I'm saying, think about your day like waves, ebb and flow, ebb and flow, ebb and flow. There are times you got to start wide and you have a team time, or you have time to connect with other people. And then you may retreat a little bit and recharge, or focus on a big project, or do some of your own work. And then you go back out to wide and you're being available and present, and then you go deep again. You could do that by the day. You could do that by the week. You could say, hey, Monday is more of a deep day for me. There will be some moments where I interact with people. Tuesday is going to be much more of a wide day. So I'm not going to be like upset if I didn't get a lot of personal progress done. That's okay. And you're trying to balance that. And when you're time tracking the week or the month, you say, oh my, whoa, I did not even realize I was way too wide. No wonder I have not made any progress on my 90-day goals. No wonder I've been like 80% wide, like the first 3 weeks. I'm going to need to go deep. I need to just tell everybody, hey, I have maxed out on our time together this month. It will renew in the new month, but I've got to catch up on some deep work. I say that facetiously. So that's another rhythm that's really good. Um, I was alluding to something and then I went on a tangent. So let me get back. Carey Nieuwhof talked about energy management. Craig Rochelle's talked about energy management. There's some other guys. Rory Vaden, I really appreciate him. I like a lot of his stuff. He's talked about energy management. He actually did a TED talk on time management. It's like why everything you know is wrong, which is going to go viral, of course. But anyways, the energy management aha moment that I really want to pass on to you guys is not all hours in your day are equal. Not all hours in your day are equal. So a lot of people, they're trying to manage time, which is good when you're trying to quantify the work, but it doesn't really qualify how you feel at the moment. So you may have an open window to do something and show up like wiped, show up exhausted, show up stressed, mentally frazzled. You're like, well, there goes that. What do I do now? Got to reboot. I mean, I heard a startling statistic. Every time you get distracted, it takes about 30 to 40 minutes to reboot your focus every time. I mean, can you imagine how often that would happen? Literally every notification, bing, ping, coming at you, there's 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. I mean, that is costly. That is super costly stuff. So the energy management idea here is not all hours in the day are equal. Now, Carey Nieuwhof, he suggests that you're going to have prime time. He calls it your green zone. Green zone is when you're bringing your best. It's like you feel your best. You're going to be your most productive. It's a neat concept. And he's, realizing that some people are morning people, some people are evening people. But where you got to bring your best. That's cool. I mean, personally, I'm kind of like, hey, if Jesus was a morning person, I'm going to be a morning person. Now he did pray all night. So I'm trying to factor that in too. But generally, I want to lead with the morning. I do want to master the morning. Maybe I'm just, partial, but not to knock on the night owls, but I was a night owl and I became a morning person, just a new season of life. It worked, I'm still doing it. I feel more productive than when I was a night owl, by the way. So I just don't have a lot of sympathy for people who say like, I can't grow, because I think we can all grow if we want to. So that was cool, for me, realizing, all right, my morning, I have about 2 or 3 hours in the morning that are premium. It's like Monopoly. What is the most valuable real estate on the board? Is it Boardwalk? So man, the real estate in my time in one day from 7 to 11 is like premium real estate. Like, please don't, I'm overproductive in that morning window. 7 to 11, man. 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, 4 hours. I got a 4-hour window where I am like just ready to go. Ironically, if we don't know that, if we don't notice that rhythm, for me, I'll just use myself as the example. If I do not notice that rhythm, hey, every day, man, you got a 4-hour like prime time. What normally happens during that time? You could oversleep, you could get sluggish, you could be catching up on email, you could be responding to everybody else's messages. You can just be kind of ramping up in your day and totally miss that opportunity. It's like Mario Brothers, and you get like the mushroom and you're like massive and it's so much easier to do stuff. It's like you got an opportunity here to level up and to maximize that time. It makes sense, with deep and wide. So not all hours in your day are equal. You got to identify when you can really bring your best and do the most important work when you're at your best. That's the idea, is match your best work with your best hours. I know that that's different when you have different industries and different work styles, but think about it, just kind of kick it around, because I think there are a lot of applications. This is very malleable. You can flex it and make it work for you. But then the other kind of force multiplied application is the same goes for the week. Not all weeks, no, wait, not all days of the week are equal. Not all days of the week are equal. So for me, ironically, coming from a church background, normally we have the weekend, there's Sunday, we're gathering on Sunday, which is super cool. And then you recover on Monday. Monday is a recovery day. I realized, hey, not all days of the week are equal. Monday, kind of kicking off the week, that's way more important than Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There's an opportunity there. So now I kind of have this gradient of like prime time working its way out. Monday morning, 7 to 11, most important prime time possible. I got to really be intentional about Monday mornings. Why? Because there's better opportunity to be focused and to get ahead Monday mornings. And then there's kind of a tapering effect, morning, and then you go out to the rest of the day and you say, well, what about future Friday? Does that mean that's when you're at your worst? No, maybe, I don't know. But I would just say, think about it. Just think about your rhythms. All right. I have exhausted our time on rhythms, but I hope that this was cool. I do want to go into systems just a bit, because this is the last time we're going to be here for a while. Tomorrow is Future Friday. So the thing about systems that I want you to catch. Systems, such a big topic. So important. The crazy thing is that you are the system. Don't think that you're just going to somehow get an exemption. If you're not willing to do the work, no system is going to help you. So whatever you're doing right now, the way you're leading by example, that becomes magnified, that becomes multiplied into your systems, which will go into your team and your team culture. So if everyone was working the way you work, if everyone was thinking the way you think, if everyone was, just interacting the way you interact, would the team be better or worse? If everyone copy pasted your actions, interactions, reactions, would the team be better or worse? And that goes into your systems. So the key to great systems is you got to be organized. It's all about organization, because systems make things easier, they make things faster, they make things clearer. And what I want to ask you with this is, do you know how to train others in what you do? Do you know how to train others in what you do? If you don't have a way to externalize what you're doing, then you're not going to have a good system. And, I think systems start on paper on purpose. You got to be able to externalize what you do far away from you to say, hey, I'm not the reason this thing is successful. I'm thankful to be a part of this thing. I'm thankful to be part of the team. But the goal is that other people can and will do what I'm doing as well, either alongside or on behalf of. But we want to empower a lot of people. If you don't have a heart to empower people and develop leaders and to multiply, then I don't know why you need systems. I mean, maybe it's you got some other reasons, but systems is how we serve teams. Systems are for people. They're people powered. I'll give you 2 ideas, for systems. I think some of my favorite systems, if I said, like, really when it comes down to it, make or break, one of my make or break systems is the session. Weekly planning session. It's make or break, um, because it helps me to do the pre-work. I'm only as good as my pre-work. I'm only as prepared as my pre-work. I'm only as confident as my pre-work. I'm only as successful as my pre-work. So, pre-work, if I'm not doing good pre-work, it's because I didn't lay it out. I didn't map it out in the weekly planning session. So that's a system. That has to be a system. You have to really get like fine tuned and said, okay, I have 60 minutes. I'm going to try to get as much of the week done as possible. These are the steps, and you're answering questions like, how do I actually show up focused? What do I need to know before I get into that planning session? Um, how do I get ahead? How do I set things up? The first few years of me just figuring all this out was me just learning how to be organized. Just organize my files, organize my thoughts, organize my time, just getting organized. And I think I've really landed on a good combination of Evernote and Google. Um, Evernote keeps me organized personally, and that's where I do my heavy lifting. And then Google Drive helps me keep the team organized that I'm a part of. Another thing is, so the weekly planning session is a system that feeds into the pre-work that I have to do. And then another thing, that's really important when it comes to systems is, like I said, being organized. So the calendar, and then for me, Google Drive. On the calendar, this has been something that I've been playing with that I like doing. I don't know if I'll keep doing it just because I don't want to be pulled in too deep into too many systems. But whenever I block out my calendar and I'm doing the weekly planning session and I have big rocks, as all day events, and then I have time blocks, basically hour by hour, I'm kind of thinking through those 90-minute rounds, right? If I know what I'm going to do and I can get the pre-work going, I'll actually embed the note in the calendar. I'll just put it straight in the calendar. I don't put it in a different system. I don't try to find it somewhere else. I make a link. I'll put it right in there. So now I'm only just looking at what's right in front of me. And that was really cool. I think that was a great way to say, all right, kind of preload. It's almost like a playlist. It's just next, 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 next. And then Google Drive, you just got to really be organized. I think numbering things is very good. Make folders, number them. You need to set your own organizational structure. You need to have your own method that becomes the map that you understand. Whenever you're organizing digital files and things, just act like you're writing a book. You got title, subtitle, parts, chapters. There is some sort of navigation. There's an indexing that you need to know, that you need to embed in. Because what happens with our organizational systems is, particularly if you don't have one, you're just going to be adding more and more files, adding more and more folders. And then what's happening is your system's getting clunkier. It's getting cluttered as you go. Instead, you want to build your system reverse engineered. You want to reverse engineer your system, go all the way out into the calendar, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. And you say, what are we going to be doing in this zone, this area, this team, or this department, whatever. What are we responsible for? What are we going for? Put everything out there on the calendar, and then create your folders one by one for those things, those projects. You can actually create your organizational setup. And now every time you show up to something on the calendar, there's somewhere to go. There's somewhere to put everything in it. Now you can share that with the team. Now you can have documents and videos and pictures and whatever. But those are just things that have really helped me. And then batching, I can't talk about batching enough. Batching work is really important. I don't think I do great work if I'm just trying to hit like one hit wonders. If I'm just showing up again and again, I'm just trying to do one hit wonders. I feel more productive, more creative if I'm sitting down and saying, all right, let me look at this whole zone. So like, for instance, prepare to go there. Let me look at prepare to go there, live streams for 6 weeks. Let me just see what I can come up with. And just start with a few titles. And then you try to explain the titles, and then that grows into some little outlines, and then the little outlines become paragraphs, and it just kind of grows as you go. So with systems, you've got to create your structure of your folders, your files, and then you'll fill them in as you go. You'll fill them in over time. Don't think that you have to like predict how everything's going to go and you make this playbook that can't change. I mean, a great system could be a one-page document. A really good system could just be a one-page document that is very clear. It's actionable. It can be personalized. People know what's our win and what's my role in this. You know, we, the team, have a goal. I, the team player, have a role. And just making it super clear. Okay. Thank y'all for your patience. This has been fun. I was trying to pack in some stuff because it's wrapping up Thursday. Let me know in the chat which idea you want to try. What are you going to try with rhythms and routines, systems, rhythms and systems? I'll just kind of sit here for a second. Work on your rhythms and your systems will work for you. I think, you know, that phrase, work on your team, work on your business, and then more than you work in it. I think this kind of applies to that. Work on your rhythms. Work on your rhythms and make sure that your systems actually flow together. Because otherwise, what you're going to do is just try to keep souping up and plussing more and new systems, and they're becoming so big, so bulky that you can't keep up with any of them. All right, very good. Thank you, guys. Let me find my mouse here. Joshua is going to do the 90 minutes, 90 days. Eric is ready to go. Finding rhythms and systems. Very cool. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for being a part of this coaching journey. Tomorrow is Future Friday. Nice. So anything can happen. I'm very excited. I have a conversation with a friend, John Hettinger, who is a leader, and he is working at a great church, and he's really leading the charge with the production team, media, music. He's just a brilliant guy, and wanted to learn from him, talk about rhythms and systems. So that is coming up tomorrow. And in the meantime, remember, you're going places. So put in the work, join the email community, and get the free fail-proof planning guide. You can put your name and email. You'll join the email community, download the PDF instantly. It will be great. Remember, you're going places, guys. Keep it up. And remember, prepare to go there.